Hello, it's Alex. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. I am going to show you my new shirt that I've made and also a top that I've made for my mum for her birthday. So she sometimes watches. If this is you, Mum, and it's not your birthday yet, switch off. So yeah, still very much with autumn trends in mind. I have been thinking about what I wanted to make, and I knew I wanted to make a new top. And as you know, I like to make a shirt, and I said I was going to make this shirt last week. It's the Thea shirt from Liberty. I think not only do I enjoy making shirts, but I find in general when I go to my wardrobe and go to, decide what I'm going to wear that day, shirts are kind of my go-to. So I try different blouses and different tops, and I'm still looking for one that's like my perfect one, and I do wear them, but shirts are where I'm kind of, it's my comfort zone. But this one I was really drawn to because I've made quite a few of the assembly line oversized shirt, which is obviously oversized and big and baggy, and I've made quite a few Deer and Dome Melio shirts, but I liked this one because obviously it has these real statement sleeves, but it also has what looks like a fairly sort of more fitted bodice part to it, and I kind of need that, but mostly I was drawn to the sleeves. It has a couple of options, a couple of collar options, and there is the option to have a short sleeve or just a straightforward long tapered sleeve. So I thought nice and versatile because I'm kind of in the market for a more fitted shirt to wear under things. So I thought it might double up as the two. So I ordered mine from the Foldline, and when these Liberty patterns came out, somebody in the sewing community, some eagle-eyed person, had spotted that they were kind of in effect a bit of a reissue from some existing patterns that one of the big four had already published, and I can't remember which pattern company it was because I did have a little look online and I can't work that out. Anyway, in effect what you're dealing with is a big four pattern, and it's been kind of interesting going back to sewing with the big four. But let me show you my shirt first. So when I saw this fabric online, I just knew it had to be mine. I mean, literally, if there was a fabric designed for me, it is this one here, because I love autumnal kind of colours. So this was definitely had my name on it, and I bought it. It was a grand total of £2.50 a metre. I bought it from Paul, who is one of the store holders at Longside Market, who Gemma, the Hammy dressmaker, introduced me to. We always go and check out Paul's fabrics when we go, and he started selling a sort of postal service. So he puts pictures on Instagram now of all his fabrics, and I sent him a message and said, could I have 3 metres please? He put it in the post, let me know what the postal costs were. I can't remember, but it wasn't very much. And then I just sent him the money over. So nice and easy, because I'd been to Longside a couple of times recently, so thought probably best not go again too soon. But yeah, really, really love this fabric. Obviously this is a viscose, so it's pretty drapey, but yeah, let me put it on and show you what it looks like. So yeah, I think I would wear it tucked in probably more than I would having it loose. I think it just works nicely with the shape. But it definitely was like a sort of little trip down memory lane working with a big four pattern again, because they do have their limitations. You can see why the indie patterns chose to do things differently. There were a couple of things. One was not having finished garment measurements on the pattern envelope or on any of the information. They are there, they're on the pattern pieces, but until you buy the pattern, you can't kind of plan out what you're going to do, which I guess you need to know for fabric purchasing. In my case, I made a size 16. It did look like standard for me. Bust and hips fitted a 16, and my waist would have taken me to a size 20. So it did look like I might have to blend sizes, but in fact when I looked at those finished measurements there was plenty of ease. So yeah, I just went straight into size 16. I went straight into the fabric. I didn't bother twirling it, which was probably a little bit naughty. And in fact I did end up taking a tiny bit off the waist, probably about centimetre and a half on either side of these seams, so 3 centimetres each side in total, just to give it a little bit more shape, because it was, I suppose, typical of Big Four. They often are a bit on the big side, aren't they? But the instructions were they're just not as comprehensive, are they? There was one thing that was a bit confusing. This pattern has a number of variations, as I said, and there were 2 variations with the puff sleeve. And on the lay plans, now I don't always follow the lay plans, but I do have a quick glance at them. And on the lay plan for one of them with the bigger sleeve, it had the sleeve on the bias, on the fabric on the bias, and on the other it was just on the straight grain, but the pattern piece had a bias marking, so that was a bit confusing. There was no mention of it anywhere, well, not that I could see anyway, in the instructions, but I had got 3 meters of this fabric from Paul, so I had enough that I could afford to put it on the bias. But something to bear in mind. And some of the things, like there was interfacing specified for the collar and the cuffs, but not on the placket. And I think you need interfacing on a placket. I mean, I can't remember whether viscose was one of the specified fabrics, possibly not because of it being so drapey. But I certainly, even with cotton, I'd always interface the placket. So that was a bit strange. I mean, I did it anyway. And this placket is a good one. You know, some plackets, it's a concealed placket, which I'm a big fan of. Sometimes when you've got a fabric like this, that the pattern is only on one side, you know, you've got a very obvious, I don't know if you can see that or not, but you have a very obvious wrong side. Sometimes that doesn't work so well on a placket. Sometimes the way they have you fold the fabric means that you'd have your wrong side showing, but this one is fine, no problems with that at all. So I didn't have to worry about that. So nice and straightforward. You don't need to, yeah, it doesn't need to be a concern. The other thing, of course, that I forgot with these Big Four patterns is they don't mention finishing your seams at all. So yeah, whether that's zigzag, overlock, it's never mentioned. It's up to you to work out at what stage you need to do that, which is usually fairly easy. It's just before you're going to have any seams crossing each other, you know, intersecting. But yeah, I'd forgotten all of that. And the other thing that it did, there is a, I'm going to not bother with that button, there is a yoke at the back, and you know, with a little gathered section on the centre back here on the main body. But yet again, no burrito method for the yoke. It did the thing where it has you sew the yoke on where it joins the bodice, and then on the inner yoke attaching it, just sewing it by hand at the shoulder seams. Why do they do that? The burrito method is so simple and so much neater, and it gives you such a nice professional finish on the inside. So yeah, I burritoed. You may know, if you've watched any of my videos before, that I have done a little tutorial on how to do that, so I'll link it in the description box below if you want to check that out. But yeah, nice and easy. I mean, I am somebody that likes making shirts, so I know that for a beginner a shirt isn't necessarily easy, but in terms of making shirts, and viscose isn't always lovely to sew with, is it? It did come together really nice and quickly for me anyway. I started it last Saturday morning, didn't get any done on Sunday because I was busy doing other things, and by Monday lunchtime it was finished and in my wardrobe. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I think it could be very different sewn in a cotton, just because of the drapiness. I think you would have a more structured sleeve here, and I am very, very tempted to make another one and to make it into a dress, because I think you've already got it covering your hips, so you could easily just extend that down and have it as a shirt dress. you know, you're only just, yeah, maybe a bit more shaping at the waist, but with a little bit of fiddling around, would easily make a shirt. And I have the perfect fabric. I was so tempted to go straight in and do that. This, by coincidence, and it is a coincidence, this video is not done in conjunction with Paul at all, but by coincidence I also bought this from Paul at Longsight Market. And this one is cotton. Hopefully the camera will pick up that paisley. Yeah, this one was more expensive. This was £3 whole a metre. And it's crazy, isn't it? So really wanted to do that, and hopefully I will at some point, but I am trying to be a little bit more disciplined in my sewing this, I was going to say this season, like I'm some kind of fashion person. But, you know, I did a video a little while ago about trying to keep my sewing and keep my wardrobe a bit more coordinated, and the conclusion I came to was that the best thing for me to do is when I've finished sewing something is to go and try it on with everything else I have in my wardrobe that might possibly go with it. Because when I did that on that video, I found there were combinations that worked really well that I just would not have thought of, and some that didn't work at all, but really worth doing. And I am still doing that, but what I'm trying to do now is not jump around so much and, yeah, nip off to the next thing without making the things I've made kind of cohesive. So I recently made that sweater dress, I made the vest, I made these ginger jeans, these are the flared jeans, and what else did I make? Oh, and the red plaid shirt. So I'm trying to think of those items as a sort of, I'm not going to say capsule wardrobe because that's way too limiting for me. Capsule wardrobe is supposed to be like 20 items or something, isn't it? But a kind of more cohesive wardrobe, as I said. So my next thing that I'm going to consider is if I was looking at these items as an entire outfit, what else would I need? And the next things I need is outerwear. So I'm looking at a jacket and a coat. I already have a coat pattern purchased and ready to go because I fell in love with it when it was released. I don't think it was out last winter, so relatively recently. I saw it on the Foldline, and it's the traveller coat from, I think it's Bella, something like Bella Loves Patterns, Bella Makes Patterns, something like that. I absolutely adore this pattern, and I love the colour that she's made this sample in the pictures. That's exactly what I want. I more or less want to just go and pick that coat up and take it off and it's mine. So I'm having to look for, I've got the pattern, but I'm looking for fabric because I looked at my local fabric shop. As I said, I was there this week because I was making this top for my mum, and they didn't have anything in that kind of, looking for something rusty, maybe veering a little bit towards brown, but not as dark as a chocolate brown. And I want something that's made, ideally 100% wool, but certainly high wool content because I get cold and I just want something that's going to keep me nice and warm. Now that pattern requires I think it might be 3.5 meters. And being that I've already checked out my local fabric shop, it means I'm going to have to buy that fabric online. And 100% wool or very high wool content fabric online at 3.5 meters of it's going to be quite a lot of outlay. So it's difficult, isn't it? I want to be sure that I like the fabric before spending all that money. So I'm having to do a little bit of research. I have got one sample of fabric that's on its way to me. Oh, it's got very dark. Sorry, it's just gone really dark here. I completely rely on natural light and the sun has just disappeared, so I hope it's not too dark. But yes, so I'm waiting for a sample to come right now of some coating fabric. But in general, that's what I'm on the hunt for. So if anybody sees any, please let me know. But yeah, it's just a bit difficult, isn't it? Because that's quite an outlay and I feel concerned, I suppose, about spending that much money on fabric that I've not actually gone and felt. So yeah, just keeping an eye on my sort of usual online fabric shops that I kind of know and trust. But the other thing that I'm also looking at is a jacket, and I'm looking for something that's like a blazer, but not a very structured one, something that's more like made from a stable knit, like a ponte or maybe a boiled wool, that sort of thing. And I have seen one pattern, had a quick look yesterday, I have seen one pattern on the Foldline website, which is the Kaia Coatigan from, I think it's Sew to Grow. That's the sort of thing that I've got in mind. But again, I need to kind of have a little look around and see what options there are. So for that one, I'm looking for both pattern and fabric. And ideally, I'd like the fabric to be, in terms of colour, to be like a camel. Yeah, kind of camel honey-ish kind of colour. I mean, I suppose I could go for a woven. Maybe there was that unstructured jacket that was released, was it the Friday Pattern Company? But I'm feeling something a little bit more casual and yeah, knit style. So again, if anyone's seen either the perfect fabric or the perfect pattern, or has used that Sew to Grow pattern, please let me know in the comments below. I'd really appreciate any input on that. But yeah, so definitely focuses on trying to make the things that I'm sewing work all together. And with that in mind, I grabbed the vest that I made last week because I think it will work pretty well with this top, if only it wasn't suddenly so dark in here. Hold on, let me see if I can do something about that. Okay, I'm not sure that that's any brighter, but unfortunately I don't have any control over the clouds. But yeah, look, so I've put it on with my vest. I still haven't hemmed it because I think, to be honest, this is about as, probably got a bit slap happy with taking the length off. I think this is about as short as I'd want it to go. So it is just overlocked, but honestly I think that it looks fine. I don't think you'd ever really notice it. So but yeah, I'm really happy to wear this as a combination together. I think as much as I'll probably wear the shirt tucked in when it's on its own, I think it with the hem kind of peeking out from below the vest, yeah, I really like it. So yeah, definitely going to wear those together. And the other thing that I made, just a quick little thing, with my scraps, I'm trying to get as many of my scraps used as I can. So I just made a little scrunchie with a hair tie, because like most people with long hair, I end up spending most of my time with it actually tied up. I drive my husband mad because I leave hair ties and scrunchies all over the house. Yeah, so anyway, just a little use up the scraps jobby. So as I said, the other thing that I made this week was for my mum. Now she lives in Germany, so I can't go and take measurements or do any fitting or anything like that. She has definitely been on my case about making her something, and I had a chat with her in the week. I did one of those, so what colours are you wearing at the moment, Mum? And she said she is wearing lots of green and yellow. I don't know that she necessarily meant together, but I had a look. I decided that the pattern to make was going to be the Remy Raglan pattern. I'd seen Sam Frugalissima's versions she's made recently, and it was a freebie with one of the sewing magazines that's out in the UK at the moment. So I went and bought that. I thought that would do really well. Doesn't have darts, should be relatively easy for the kind of thing that you're putting in the post to somebody where you can't be sure about fit. So I had a little look to see what fabric I already had in my stash, and I did have some really nice yellow viscose fabric, but because it's got a bias bound neck, I don't like doing bias binding at the best of times, and I just thought, I just don't want to be faffing around doing bias binding with viscose. So what a shame, I had to get in the car and go to Leon's Fabrics and see if they had anything. So I chose this, and it's, to be honest, a bit of a risk because it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's a William Morris print in this green colourway. I have no idea whether my mum is going to go, oh lovely William Morris, or whether she's going to say, oh, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, that's the risk you run, isn't it, when you're choosing fabrics for other people. But yeah, nice and easy pattern to make. The only problem I had is that I wanted to make it with long sleeves. The pattern that comes with the magazine has, I think, a short sleeve and a 3/4. And if you want the long sleeve option, then you have to download it from the Sew House 7 website, which is free. So I did that, and then I realised I was out of printer ink. I think because I've been sending my I've been sending my patterns out to Fabuloso. I haven't really done any PDF printing for a while, and I didn't realise I was out of ink. I have to say, just going back to this shirt, that was the other thing I noticed was, using a Big 4 pattern is that horrible tissue paper that they come on. I've been spoilt with that lightweight paper that they have at Fabuloso. It's just not as flimsy. Anyway, so what I did was I hacked the sleeve myself. I added a few centimetres on. Mum's a little bit shorter than I am. She's maybe 5'5". So I had a little bit of length onto the sleeve, and then I just extended it out, where you do parallel lines with the grain line to the cut and spread method. I'm going to show you that at some point at a later date. I may even have done that before. But I did a cut and spread, cut them, extended it out by about 6 centimetres, and then just put some elastic in the cuff. So I put it on because it is a size 14. Mum said that she's around about a size 14 or a sort of medium. I'm sure she won't mind me putting it on to show you. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now, as I said earlier, there's no dart, which is kind of what you want when you're making something for someone that you can't fit it on. But probably the truth of the matter is that this isn't maybe the best choice of fabric for something without a dart, because it is marketed as a craft fabric, although I have made a shirt with a different William Morris craft cotton and it worked brilliantly. And I don't think it's quite as thick as some of those quilting cottons. I think it's perfectly fine for garments. But possibly this needs something a little more drapey. I'm still going to send it to her, and I don't know, we are a different shape. It might be absolutely fine on Mum, and it could just be me being a bit funny, but I'm not sure about the way it hangs. I think it's okay. It's making me think I probably need to make her something else as well that maybe is playing it a little bit more safe, that I can be sure she'll like, because I have another pattern that works really well for this sort of thing. And I think what I might do is I might do a video on good patterns for when you are making something for somebody that you don't have access to, because we obviously have the C word coming in December, and it might be quite good to do a little roundup of patterns that are good for garments as gifts. So if anyone's interested in that, will you let me know in the comments, and yeah, whether that's something anyone's interested in me doing. But yeah, I am quite happy with it, but just not 100% happy with it. So I probably need to make something else. Her birthday's on the 1st of November, so I've got a little bit of time. But yes, that is pretty much what I've done this week so far. If anybody has any brilliant suggestions for fabric they might have seen for my coat, rusty wool fabric, fabric for a jacket in a camel colour, and a really nice sort of unstructured jacket pattern, if anyone's got any good tips, that would be great. Please let me know. I will be back pretty soon because Sam, who I mentioned earlier, Frugalissima, has tagged me in the thing that's going around at the moment, which is 5 questions in one take. Questions about your sewing and running a YouTube channel and all of that sort of thing. So I'm hoping to do that in the next couple of days as well. I will be back with that. Hopefully when I do send this to my mum, she might send a picture, so I'll let you know I'll put that up if she allows me to, and I'll let you know what she thinks of it when the time comes. In the meantime, I always forget this bit, but in the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe, give me a thumbs up, all of that sort of thing really does make a difference. And as always, I really appreciate all the comments. Anybody who hasn't watched before, I'm really grateful for you watching. Yeah, thank you so much. I will be back very soon. What else? There was something else I wanted to say. Can't remember. Menopause. All right, see you soon. Bye.